Matty and Patty, coast to coast. In San Francisco, it's Matt Youngner. Say hello, Matty.
Hey, Patty. How you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. And in Brooklyn, this is Pat McMenamin, and I am joined by a very special guest all the way from London, England, Chris Mansfield. Say hello, Chrissy.
Hello.
Is it okay I call you Chrissy?
No.
Okay. It just fit with the Matty, Patty, and Chrissy.
Yeah, that's sort of the theme.
That's sort of the theme here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chris knows almost nothing about American sports, let alone Cleveland sports, so it struck me that he'd be a perfect addition to this podcast. So, Chris, we welcome your ignorance. It is equaled by my own ignorance of English sports. So,
yep, I've experienced that. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. Chris is here from out of town visiting, so I'm forcing him to sit here while we do a podcast because the next round starting, Matty.
You're a terrible host. That's why you're doing it, Pat. I've known that for years.
Well, I'm plying him with some manly rosé as we do the podcast.
That
rosé,
might be the trick.
some rosé, if you would.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, rosé, which we're drinking out of dainty coupe glasses.
Mm.
So welcome to the Cleveland Sports Hour. We are two self-aware but unapologetic homers who spend far too much time watching, reading, and thinking about the Cavs, the Browns, and the Tribe. So if you like the informed, intelligent Cleveland fans' perspective, you've come to the right place. All right, so Matty, the Cavs dispatched the Pistons in a hard-fought sweep.
Whew.
Strange phrase. It was a hard-fought sweep in round one, and now we face a rematch with the Hawks in the Eastern Conference semifinals. So we'll take a look back first on Stan Van Gundy's hilarious reactions to back-breaking Kyrie bombs, and then preview the upcoming Hawks series. But before we get to that, the new Browns regime of Harvard baseball analytic geniuses had their first draft this weekend, Matty.
Oh, yeah. It was exciting.
So let's talk about that first, and then we'll touch on the Tribe briefly because they are suddenly scuffling after a very promising start. So, again, today we'll start with some quick hits in the Browns and the Tribe before getting to our Eastern Conference semifinal preview. Matty, give me your quick off-the-cuff reaction to the Browns' first, the new regime's first NFL draft.
So I'm going to preface all this by saying I know very little about college football.
Yeah, likewise.
Like beyond the first couple players, I know nothing, let alone getting into the later rounds. So all my takes are just a basic philosophy I have. So in general, acquiring more picks is the right move. I agree with that 100%. Both especially with the cheap rookie contracts, is a way to fill your roster, let go of your veterans when it's time to let go, and just keep a roster replenished. That's the way to do it. Acquiring more and more is the way to do it. It seems like maybe they have unearthed a new I'm blanking on the word, but an underutilized asset in that people undervalue future draft picks. Like there's this logic of if you get a first round pick next year, it's really a second round pick. That's stupid. No other sport treats it like that. Basketball doesn't. So I'm hoping they sort of go into that and acquire future picks like that because it's a undervalued asset everywhere else. But anyway, getting a lot is great. And then I think this regime will give them a chance to see what their draft record looks like. They deserve a draft or two before we're able to determine that. And sort of folly to give it a grade at this point anyway, in my opinion, unless you're doing something really stupid. And because we had needs all across the board, I think your only issue there is if we got the quarterback we wanted or not. And once we traded out of the 2 spot, I think it was sort of a guessing game. We weren't going to get a sure thing quarterback there anyway. So I feel good.
Yeah, no, I feel good too, but it's interesting. You said that, we aren't going to know about the draft, how good it is until 3 or 4 years, which is really difficult because most regimes only have 2 or 3 years before things stink. Here, sure. But the thing is, I thought Tom Hecker's drafts were great early on. Honestly, he had a few big hits, obviously, with Joe Hayden, Jabal Sheard, but he had a ton of misses, and I'm not sure how much else we have that really to show for what we did with Hecker. And that wasn't apparent at first. The first 2 years, I was all in on Tom Hecker. This is our previous GM from 2 or 3 regimes ago. I'll explain to Chris here.
You know Tommy's
what's that? Yeah, he knows Tom. Yeah, he's friends with them. He drinks with them, which is the reason Tom Hecker has a problem. He has a drinking problem.
Too much rosé.
Yes, too much rosé.
Although I want to add one thing into the mix there, Pat, which is because the Browns are such a screwed up organization, it's also hard to tell how much of it was a player development issue because they were turning that coaching staff over constantly.
That's a very
so the hope now is that Haslam has learned his lesson, that he's got both a coaching staff and a front office that'll be in place for a little while, and I mean 4 years or something like that, and that we'll honestly be able to evaluate that stuff. But Yeah, we're not going to know for a little bit.
Well, let's do a quick recap, a little bit of what happened. So we started out with the second pick in the draft, and I think maybe 9 total picks through 7 rounds, right? We had a couple compensatory selections.
Yeah.
We started with 9, I feel like, right? Is that right? Yeah, I know we had at least 2 compensatory selections. So
I think we had 3. I think we had 3 actually.
10. We started with 10 picks.
Yeah, I think that's right.
7 rounds, including the second pick in the draft. We were obviously angling for Jared Goff because the first pick in the draft belonged to Tennessee, who already had their new shiny quarterback from last year, Marcus Mariota. But then the Rams traded up from the 15th pick to the first, and it was clear they were taking Jared Goff. And apparently, so the Browns still could have signed or drafted Carson Wentz, who was the consensus number 2 on the board. This gigantic beast of a guy from a small school who had gaudy record. Sounds familiar, Matty, right? Sounds like a guy that Browns are very familiar with?
Sort of. Except this one's a ginger.
Big Ben.
Big Ben. He knows Chris knows who Big Ben is. So we could have passed up on a guy that Chris would actually know who this is.
Not the clock.
Not the clock.
It's all goofed up.
So we passed on him. And by trading back from the 2nd to the 8th pick, we also passed up a chance to sign, to draft, to draft Joey Bosa, went number 3, and Ezekiel Elliott, number 4, although I'm kind of glad we didn't do that. I love Zeke, but we didn't need to draft a running back in the first 10 picks again.
Agreed.
Yeah. So that's what we passed up. We passed up a chance at those 3 key players, and we gained, a ton. To go from 2nd to 8, we got a first rounder next year. We got a second rounder this year, right?
No, second rounder next year. Second rounder in 2 years. A third rounder this year.
That's right. Because we only had one second
first rounder next year. It was a ton of stuff.
And then we traded again from 8 to 15, adding more picks. We ended up having 14 picks in this draft, Matty. That's like 2 full drafts. And then what I love is that we drafted 4 linebackers, right? A couple of them defensive end that we're going to convert to 3-4 outside linebackers.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but. Yeah, four linebackers / ends. Yes.
Right, and then 5 wide receivers. One who's going to be converted to tight end. But what I like about that, we aren't going to possibly use all those guys, almost certainly. But so what?
Here's
you're going to have misses in every draft. And what's nice about this is that you're increasing your odds. You get 2 full-fledged great wide receivers as opposed to 1 or 2 and missing elsewhere.
I guess that's the nit that I would pick if I was going to pick one here. Is that it doesn't make sense to pick because I think all the wide receivers none of them went 6th or 7th in the 6th or 7th round, right? I think they were all in the top 5 rounds that we picked. So why pick more receivers than you have roster space for? Unless we think there's a possibility they all make the team. I don't know. I hear what you're saying of just go for it and see who makes it, but it seems like enough wide receivers come as undrafted free agents. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather just bring guys into camp and feel it out like that and maybe fill some other roster spots that we need.
That's another criticism this regime faced from this draft is there's at least 2 guys that were not on anyone's consensus top 300. And we picked them obviously in the first 300.
The kids from Princeton and who else?
A guy from Princeton. I'm trying to remember who the other guy was. It may have been the safety, but I can't remember. The safety we picked up, Dredrick, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, but there was at least 2 apparently that we picked that weren't on anyone's top. And also the quarterback we took, Kessler. Kessler.
Kessler, right? You got it.
The quarterback we took, everyone was kind of surprised by and had a much higher round for him. We frequently pick guys that should have been, by conventional wisdom, available a round or 2 later, which is a big no-no in drafts. But that's what you think, Matty. Is this just the sign of our analytics team thinking very differently than the rest of the league and potentially properly valuing guys that the rest of the league doesn't value, or are these guys completely out of their depth? Which do you think it is? It's the Browns. Assuming they
right. So you'd bet it's going to go haywire. The answer is we don't know. Right. Yeah. The thing that I like is that the organization seems to be on the same page with the draft. Right. Mm-hmm. Hugh Jackson at least is saying that he feels very good about everything. It's a far cry from the days where Haslam wanted one thing, the GM wanted something, the coach wanted something else. There wasn't an organizational philosophy. It feels like we have a philosophy now. which to me is probably more important than any of the individual picks that you make, is that get a bunch of numbers and then have a philosophy that you're willing to stick to. That is the start of something at a minimum for this organization.
What I like about this is, it feels like they'll only get better if they screwed up a couple times here. I like their general philosophy and approach. And the Browns have been so bad for so long. I'm happy to give these guys like 3 or 4 years to figure it out.
And that's the key, is we have to. There can't be a panic reset. Hit the reset button in a year or two. That would be a disaster.
Yeesh. Another interesting thing I picked up on this was the constant drafting of guys who were walk-ons. So that's just explain to Chris in the background. Most people get drafted in the NFL tend to be like highly recruited stars out of high school and get tons of scholarship money thrown at them off the bat. We drafted at least 2 guys, if not 3, I believe, that did not have any scholarship whatsoever, but literally were just dudes that went to this college and walked on and tried out for the team, made it, and became stars. So these are guys who worked their ass off to get, and they eventually got scholarships after they proved to the university how valuable they were as a player. So that's kind of interesting. But is that, are these guys just overachievers that we're getting who will be exposed to the NFL level? I don't know.
We don't know.
That's their episode on analytics, and analytics is about production, and these guys have been very productive analytically. So
production, and also the recurring theme was pretty good citizens too, which you hope means more than anything, more than that they work hard, which is a good thing, is that it also seems like guys who walk on are also coachable. Yeah. Which is something that you want, assuming our coaching staff is halfway decent, which we hope that it is. So if that's what you're looking for, guys, good programs, work hard, good reputations, were productive at the only level at which you can value production. That all seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, and I like the drafting of a ton of linebackers for a 3-4 scheme, since it feels weird that we switched to a 3-4 scheme which has 4 linebackers. We never really heavily invested in it. We just kind of took some guys in the free agency. We should be drafting the shit out of linebackers.
Yeah,
constant stream of linebackers. So I like the big investment there.
I like that. A couple linemen that look like they should be playable.
Yeah,
more or less right away. I thought it was a good draft. The looking at grades, you sent me. Whose did you send me yesterday, Pat? That's
I think Focus, which is a big analytics website.
Yeah, gave us the top grade along with the Jaguars. Most of the other ones most people liked the Jaguars and didn't like ours.
Yeah.
Although it was for the reasons that you sort of stressed. It wasn't so much bad thoughts about anybody individually, but just that we grabbed them when we shouldn't have. Right. And even Kuiper gave us a C or a C-, I think. Mm-hmm. But if you go through his reasoning, he has good things to say about every single player that we took. Yeah. So it's a weird. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as I said, grades are sort of stupid in these situations, but
this is what's interesting about this. Here's my half-baked theory about why the Browns may have been the smarter than the rest of the league here. The LS guys are playing by different rules as opposed to the almost cliched rules of drafting, which we all internalize in a lot of fantasy football snake drafts, right? You don't want to snatch a guy too early because you're going to be be harder to find a player later, right?
Sure.
Your value. But if the Browns are basically baking into the formula, you're going to miss on guys. Just odds are guys look a certain way and they just don't pan out. You can't predict that. It's unpredictable. It's random. So if you get as many picks as possible, in this case we got twice as many picks as you normally get, and you don't wait for these guys to be available, because if you just miss on them by a pick or two in the 5th round, no one gives you a reward for that. Target the guys you want, as many as you can, when you can, in the order that you think that they are available, and just get them. And if and get as many as you can, and you can take risks on guys because you're buying twice as many of them. So that's I feel like this is where the numbers come in and maybe make them look good.
No, I feel good about it, and as guarded and as I know this isn't going to work out way as you can. I mean, the big thing is we didn't take a swing at one of the quarterbacks. We talked about that before when we first made the trade out. If we didn't feel great about them, and it seems like there's plenty of reason not to feel great about either of them. Get out. It's not like we're a quarterback away from doing something here.
No, and interestingly, we drafted a quarterback who the draft grades, kind of worst case scenario, he's almost certainly going to be a quality NFL backup. Well, that's not a bad thing to have. One, because you can trade that. That's actual trade. And secondly, Jason Lackenfora, I forget that's his name.
The guy who loves what's his face?
Loves Mike Lombardi, who is the toxic former GM who lasted 1 year. It was just a disaster from the beginning. He loves that guy, and he's always kind of held a grudge against the Browns. He's a reporter for CBS, but he holds a grudge against the Browns because we fired his buddy. And he was like dinging the Browns for passing all these quarterbacks, right? Passing on Wentz, passing on Paxton Lynch, passing several times on Connor Cook, who the Raiders he praised to the hilt for trading up with us at the top of the 4th round to take. And saying, we'll see how Kessler works out. Like he's going to suck. And he praised him for it, but the fact that you draft guys, build them up, even though the Raiders already have a franchise quarterback, right? Or draft this guy just to groom to be a backup. Yet we're being criticized for the same thing, even though we trade out. I don't know. Dude's a piece of work. Chris, any thoughts? Any analysis from England on the Browns NFL draft?
Just a question on when in the draft process the players get issued the gas mask.
Well done. I gotta say, Tunsil's name, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think one of our friends and players, I think it was Grant, who said and probably I'm gonna get it if I get this wrong, but you gotta value that guy's commitment. You gotta do it right.
I have zero problem with that, but all this stuff I've read is that most of these teams are aware that most of the players that they're picking have smoked pot at some point in their collegiate careers.
Right.
And that in the actual draft process, guys are real honest about it, and so this thing just dropped on him at the worst possible moment. And I don't know. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, me too. All right, Maddie, what the fuck happened to the Tribe?
Hi, listen. I am exceedingly frustrated with it. I was so ready for the sweep at the hands of the Tigers last weekend.
Yeah,
it came the other way. For us, which was fantastic. I was like, all right, they're cooking now.
We had easy week, Maddie. We had a double sweep. We swept the Pistons on the same day we swept the Tigers. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then we had an relatively easy week of the Twins and the Phillies. And it managed to lose 5 of 6 games, which is unbelievable. The only consolation we can take, and this is not much, but we're just losing games by 1 run constantly.
All 5 of those, right? All 5 by 1 run?
Yeah, I think that's right. Or with the one walk-off in Minnesota might have been multi, but it was a walk-off, which is in.
Oh, there were back-to-back walk-offs in Minnesota, I thought.
But yeah, I think one of those was somebody hit a big home run.
Oh, that's true. Maybe
but functionally, that's like a 1-run game in some ways. That is luck in baseball a lot of times. That's how your hits are aggregated, all sorts of stuff that you don't necessarily have control over. So you'd hope that would swing back around a little bit, but the bullpen has been a mess. Shaw and Allen in particular have been really not good.
Allen's blown back-to-back saves, no?
Yeah. I think the second one might not have been a blown save. I think it's just a loss because we didn't have the lead when he came in.
Oh, that's true.
But it's super frustrating. Guys hitting a little bit, but we're still waiting for some people. Brantley just came back and isn't really hitting yet. I'll give him a pass, but
yeah. Well,
very frustrating.
The other positive take from this is that this is still the best April we've ever had under Terry Francona.
Yeah.
Horrible week. So, we're right around 500. I mean, the White Sox are roaring ahead, and the Royals with them, so we're in a little bit of a hole already. But, long season, and I'm happy to see Kluber getting his form back the last couple starts. Salah looks good. The hitting just failed us today. The hitting's been pretty good all around. For the most part, our hitting's been really good.
It's been good. Not really good, but it's been fine.
Well, for the Indians have not been a great hitting team in the past couple of years. We've been okay, and it's been better than normal.
It's been what we need for sure.
So yeah, let's
plenty of season left and tons of games against the Royals and the White Sox in particular. So there's time to make it up. Fortunately, we were worried that Carrasco was going to be done for the year. He should be back sometime in June, I think, if everything goes according to plan, which is a nice break.
Mm-hmm.
We've caught our injuries early. I'm hoping we get them out of the way early.
Yeah, exactly.
With Brantley, Chisenhall, Carrasco. Roberto Perez is out now for a little bit. I think he fractured his thumb making that play yesterday, which is an underrated down thing. He's a really good backup catcher for us.
Yeah.
So I don't want to talk about him too much. I'm so freaking frustrated by this weekend's Phillies series, but all hope is not lost.
Let's move on to the main event, the Cavaliers. I'm going to start off with the Pistons, who, as I said, I think late in that game 4 that we nearly blew, I was like, God, let's just win this game and get the fuck out of here. I don't want to play these guys anymore, at all.
No, I'd had enough. I was so glad we got out of there like we did.
Because one, they're a good team. They are dangerous, and they probably could have stolen another game from us at some point. I think we still would have won. I was worried about us winning a 4-2 series. But I forget who said, but somebody was talking to, I forget which reporter this was. It was either David McMenamin or Jason Lloyd. I think it was Jason Lloyd, actually. That some veteran on the Cavs team was saying a lot of young teams like this, where they get to the playoffs, they don't have any experience, and they're just told they have to plplay tough. They have to play, and they don't know how to play tough in a way that's responsible and not incredibly dangerous. And Marcus Morris, they tore Love's arm off again. This is game 4 of every first-round series for Love. Someone tries to tear his arm off.
Yeah.
And that happened in the Celtics series. And the Celtics in their series against the Hawks, the same thing. They were playing, their same kind of dirty out, scrappy, faux hard style of basketball.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was super thrilled to get out of there when we did, and in the way that we did. Not in the way that we did. I take that back. That last game was super frustrating. I was super glad we got out in the minimum number of games possible.
The first three games are very solid. Even though they were close games throughout the first half, we pulled away in the third quarter each time, and we didn't just rely on the threes. Threes sometimes weren't there. Oftentimes they were there, and they're certainly very helpful when they were there. But we kept working things inside. Love was scrapping and playing well for most of the games. He played terribly in game 4, but he was not invisible elsewhere. He was out there on the court at the end of the game. So
no, as you pointed out, he shot terribly, but the rest of his game was pretty decent.
He was a monster, especially. He was a monster on the boards that I hadn't remembered seeing him do, except when he was in Minnesota. He hadn't really done that for us. He got a lot of rebounds, but you didn't really kind of feel him out there, and you felt him in game 4, so that was nice to see.
Yeah, totally agree.
But again, our big 3 keys, if we go back to the last podcast, I think you and I mostly agreed on was perimeter defense. And I felt we really held them in check perimeter defense for the most part. They had a few moments, but the bulk, I think we held on that score, no?
We were good there. I think if we want to call this perimeter, we were pretty good at preventing dribble penetration.
Right.
I think our closeouts on threes were not great. And that continued throughout this year. I mean, obviously a problem in game 1, and the Pistons shot the lights out, but it never improved to the degree that perhaps we would have wanted.
Yeah, and the other thing is that a lot of their threes were in transition. What's that? 1 second. My children are going to bed, and I may need to go up and say goodnight. What's that, Becca? Okay. I will launch Matt on a monologue at some point, and I will say goodnight to my son in the middle of that monologue. You ready for that, Matt?
I don't know why I can't talk to Chris.
You could talk to Chris. That would be a great idea. That'd be a great idea.
We can talk about James LeBron. He's my favorite.
James LeBron. He loves James LeBron. Before I go up, I don't want to extend this too long, but to leave my last point, which was the threes. I think a lot of the threes that happened were on transition threes. They came very early in the shot clock, as we were mixed up because I think we crossed up our matchups, right? So whoever's matching us when we were on offense, we didn't necessarily guard those exact same guys on defense. So there was a lot of searching out guys and picking out who we're supposed to cover on the transition, and then that left them a lot of open looks early in the shot clock.
Yeah, I mean that's not good.
Yeah, no. So that's
something to criticize, and it seemed like we got it together in the second half of games.
Mm-hmm.
This is no secret. Their offense was great in the first. The Pistons' offense was super successful in the first halves and pretty limited in the second halves.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just us turning it up a notch. Maybe that's us figuring out our assignments, although it seems weird that wouldn't translate game to game.
Right.
But defense was not fantastic all the way through.
No. The other thing was we kept hitting our threes throughout. That was one good thing that kind of kept us from blowing games.
Yeah, that's true.
And LeBron was fantastic throughout the series, with the exception of one game where he was missing a lot of shots. But then the big thing we didn't talk about was Kyrie. Kyrie really stood up. Like, I mean, his defense was way better than it had been in the regular season. Not amazing, but he was no longer a huge liability, I felt like.
No, he was trying more or less.
And, man, he just started to shoot lights out on three balls. That was pretty nice. So, yeah, why don't you start now while I'm upstairs to get to my child. Why don't you share your thoughts on Kyrie's play in the Pistons series? And Chris will attempt to pretend that he knows what you're talking about. Ready?
Yeah, me and Chris are just going to talk now.
Yes, go.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, man.
You big Kyrie Irving fan?
Yeah, Kylie's cool.
Yeah,
he's cool.
The Britishisms of everything are fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Kyrie Irving, right?
Kyrie, that's right. Not like Kylie Minogue.
No.
But Kyrie Irving.
So what does he do? Is he my new favorite player, or?
He's an extremely frustrating player. That is the second most important player on the Cavs, who has been pretty up and down this year. And we were looking for him to have a sort of breakout, redefine himself as a player, and go to a different level. And Pat went so far as to say that would have to happen for us to win the championship. He would have to be our best player, better even than James LeBron, and that has not happened this year. So he is a constant source of worry and concern for us.
I guess that was going to be my question. I don't know much about any of your sports, but having been friends with Patrick for a long time, I know how much pain he's felt with Cleveland failing either just or very hard in every year. And what it would take to break the curse. And it sounds like you've just given one example. Kyrie Irving having a consistent season.
Yes. And even better more than that, being sort of transcended, going to another level of it. He's been at a certain ceiling where it felt like he was a scorer in bunches. He could get hot and score a lot, and you could count on him to do that, but maybe not much else. We need him to do more than that. And he showed glimpses. Last year, it felt like he was getting there, and then he got hurt in the playoffs. So it all sort of got taken away, and then he's never really gotten back to that level or exceeded it this season. So we started to see a little bit of that in the series that we just went through. He looked better. He's had a problem this year with constantly. He's not a great defender. He doesn't have great instincts and tends to lose himself a little bit. So he's a little bit better there. Defense in the NBA is mostly about effort and communication and thinking. And he was a little bit better there. He also has a terrible problem with over dribbling the ball and sort of getting himself into situations where he almost corkscrews himself into the ground and into the defense rather than just moving the ball around and letting his teammates help. And as a point guard, that is one of the main things that you are supposed to be able to do, is involve your teammates and enable the offense to be a little higher functioning than just a one-on-one game. He got into a little bit of that in this series, but less than we'd seen in the regular season. And the good parts about his game, which is that he's an amazing finisher and can be a great shooter, really came around, which was fantastic, and gave us some hopes going into this next series. So it was good. Chris, let me ask you about this. Has Pat talked to you about the kill list? I think he might have indicated that you had some conversation about it in a non-sports context this week.
A kill list?
Murdering people in a consequence-free environment.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we have had this conversation. There was a lot of rosé involved in it.
That's okay. It's a good rosé conversation.
Yeah. So the kill list. I mean,
we're on the kill list.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure that that I would want to kill anyone, but
No, Chris, I feel that you're lying to me now.
In a consequence-free environment, I'd probably just go around slaying everyone that I saw. That's the problem, because once you get that bloodlust, and once you go into a fugue state,
just the enjoyment of murdering people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And once you've got the machete wet and the hot blood is running between your fingers,
it needs to be fed.
It needs to be fed. Yeah, that's my view on any kind of kill list. The list becomes very quickly the whole world.
Did you share
Everyone.
Did you share what our house guest said when we asked her to pick someone that you would kill in a conflict-free environment?
No.
She picked Donald Trump, which is not, very surprising. But I like that she picked. We asked her what method would she use, and she went straight for a pillowcase. I would suffocate him with a pillow.
Wow.
No hesitation. It was
a very personal.
It's doubly shutting up and suffocating to death. This is a wholesome tradition we've started, Maddie.
I know. I love it. So, Patty, anybody jump onto the kill list during that series? Beforehand, I believe we said Marcus Morris.
Oh, yes, Marcus Morris for sure, and he earned it. I always don't like, Reggie Jackson has those bug eyes. So
yeah, he really started to look like the Red Skull to me during that series.
Bitched and moaned about everything, like his post game 4 when he was clearly not fouled in that last shot, like he clearly wasn't, and he kept bitching about it. That was really annoying and just embarrassing. Stanley Johnson surprised me with
he came out of nowhere. He wasn't on our radar at all.
Total wild card. So I like him. I drafted him in my fantasy league.
Shame on you.
And then what was I gonna say? Yes, I'm sorry, shame on me. But what was surprising was I never noticed him on the court at all. Just occasionally has some tough defense on LeBron, whatever. Everyone has, those moments. But I only noticed him in the postgame. That's an embarrassing thing. If you only noticed in postgame comments, that means
he hit a couple big threes early in the series.
He did. That's true.
He just totally disappeared once he started running his mouth.
Totally.
Not ideal.
And he kept running his mouth. That was weird. So, he jumped on that list. Tobias Harris was totally invisible in the series from a hate perspective and an actual
Did the people's elbow that Andre Drummond dropped on LeBron move him up at all for you?
It would have, except the story I heard where he was waiting outside the Cavs locker room to talk to LeBron.
Apologize. Yeah.
And I assumed apologize. He talked to Kyrie when he came out, and then Love. But of course, you have to wait a long time for LeBron because LeBron goes through a long icing process right before he'll talk to the media, or at least for playoff games. Yeah. And he finally LeBron came out, and LeBron just walked right past him, didn't even look him in the face, just like he wasn't even there, which is awesome.
No, I'm a fan of that move.
We're in playoffs. I'll talk to you after the series. Basically, how I interpret that is I'm not talking to you now. You threw it over my head, and we're going to talk about it after the series, not now. And that's the right way to go about it. So and he didn't keep doing it. There was that one game.
Yeah, I agree.
For the most part, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Right.
I think this was the Marcus Morris show for the most part, with Reggie Jackson making some timely guest appearances and Stanley Johnson running his mouth a little bit. But Marcus Morris is the runaway winner.
Again, the standout, and I still kind of want to kill him. A standout moment for me was, I think it was game 1 where we had some early Timo minutes, and Timo, he went up and contested a shot, and he got called for a foul that shouldn't have been a foul. He went straight up. And as soon as it was done, Marcus Morris just started jawing at him. So much. It was an obvious technical.
I don't know how he didn't get teed up for that. Timo didn't react at all either.
That's how. Timo didn't react. Timo just immediately Timo acted like he was a fly, which was great. He was just like, who are you? Who are you? It wasn't like, he's a gigantic man who could just destroy Marcus Morris.
Yeah.
So just fuck you, Marcus Morris. You are such a mediocre player that runs his mouth as if he's much bigger than he is, and that's one of the things I hate most. Which brings me, Maddie.
I don't know. He was pretty good that series, Patty.
He played fine, but honestly, when he had his moments because his shot was going, he would fall in love with it, and he would always repay it back. It was almost like the all roads lead to 40 rule for Larry Hughes.
Yeah.
All roads lead to eventually you're gonna miss a ton of shots, which is what he did, and I never worried about him. He hit a bunch of shots, and be like, great, you're gonna miss a ton later. This is great.
What about when he was just taking Kevin Love to the basket? Did that worry you at all?
Nah, because Kevin Love also hit him up a couple times too, and he didn't do it with regularity to really punish us. He had a couple good drives. There were some bad moments, but we worked around it. I was not really that concerned.
Okay.
Did you disagree?
No, I thought he was pretty good actually. It sort of made me want to have him. His playing ability.
All right. Well, if I'm discounting the level of his play, it's because I'm hating.
That's fair enough.
think I'm permitted. But speaking of people who get outsized notions of their actual playing ability and then act their way onto the kill list because of that, I want to lead off the Hawks kill list with Kent Bazemore.
Oh yeah,
he was a surprise entrant last year on our inaugural podcast.
Yep. He's way better. He's way better now, Patty.
Way better now. So the hate level was ratcheted up as a result of that. If someone's really good, they're going to do things that drive you crazy, and so when they act out and act all tough and meme mug, then you hate them even more. So Kent Bazemore is the top of my list of the Hawks people that I'd like to kill. You?
I think Schroeder for me.
Yes, Schroeder again, the principal.
Because he's really yapping like a little dog.
Yes, he is.
Right now, which I enjoyed when Isaiah Thomas was on the other end of it. I will enjoy less when it's poor little Delhi on the other end of it in the series to come. It'll make me very mad, I fear.
Poor little Delhi. I mean, yeah, poor little Delhi will get torched, but isn't Delhi the dirty one?
No, Delhi's not dirty. I'm stopping that right now.
Good.
He's tough. He's not really poor little Delhi. He's going to stand up for himself just fine.
He'll be fine.
But it'll annoy me, whoever he decides to get into it. I feel like the Cavs are a little bit above that right now, which I like. They didn't really engage ever.
No, which is great.
On court in that Pistons series. I enjoy that a lot.
Except for JR. I had to bring this up.
I loved his shoot. He shot over 50% from three-point range in that series. He was fantastic.
Fantastic. Also, the best point, his best moment was he had this one fan heckling the hell out of him in Game 3.
Oh, the one he shushed.
Oh, yeah. Nailed that three, turned around, shushed the guy. The dude tried to front on him, and which was crazy. I think he got kicked out of the game, actually, kicked out of the arena. But that was great because he was heckling the whole game, and he just shushed him. And it was great. JR was fantastic. Just what a revelation! I'm so happy.
He's a lot of aggressive fan interactions in the first round.
It was crazy, right?
Did you see that dude in Charlotte on Friday?
Yeah, the purple shirt guy.
Yeah, that was the most aggressive fan to player trash talking I think I've ever seen.
Although he might have been like a Heat plant though, because he kind of.
Yeah, no, he's a Charlotte. I read a profile about him. He's a Charlotte season ticket holder.
Okay. You know the Heat paid him to rile up the Heat to get them going.
No, I do not.
Here. Yeah, okay, neither do I. All right, anyway, besides Schroeder and Bazemore, I would have thought Bazemore would be on your top list. You hated him real hard. I think he was your top 8 at the end of the series last year.
He was on my fantasy league team this year, so I developed a soft spot for him.
As I said, I appreciate it. I'm totally overmatched, but I'm not going to back down. I'm going to have confidence no matter what, and I can snap to the best player in the world. I like something. Part of me like that. Kind of against all odds mentality. Sure. But now I hate it.
No, it'll be. I'll get mad at him again. Don't worry. Al Horford, I think, could get on there.
I was about to say, do you think there is the possibility of the Hawks getting frustrated and intentionally trying to injure somebody on the Cavs because last year?
It's possible. I mean, I think in sort of the cold light of day, they've realized that Delhi wasn't trying to do something intentional there. I didn't see it at all in the games we played with them during the season.
Have you followed Al Horford, Mrs. Al Horford's Twitter feed? She's still talking about Delhi.
Yeah, but
as of last week, she was talking about Delhi.
You can't control what your wives are doing. You know how that is, man. Yeah, am I holding you responsible for everything Becca says?
Shh, Maddie. Stare. I'm not happy with it right now. All right. Anybody worry you on the Hawks?
Sure, plenty to worry about.
Give me
3-point shooting, they can get hot in a moment and just go bonkers. There's not much you can do about it. Starting with Korver, but continuing. I mean, that happened the last game we played them.
Yep.
Where Bazemore was just going nuts. He did that in the Celtics series too. They're capable of that. Everybody in their starting lineup can hit threes.
Yeah, I don't like that that Korver was cold from 3 for the first 4 games and then has been hot last two.
Yeah, just in time for us.
Just in time for us, yeah.
That worries me. The dribble penetration from their guards is of deep concern.
He had a layup line against us last time we played them. But again, despite all that, we kind of handled them not fairly easily, but they weren't nail biters. I mean, they're close games, but we pulled away in the end.
No, it's pretty reminiscent of this Pistons series, actually, and its toughness and quality and duration.
Yeah.
So those two things, they have a good defense, right? They have the best defense in the league the second half of the year, if they didn't get up there for the whole year. And for a team like us that has shown a tendency to just shit the bed in important moments offensively, that worries me.
Yeah.
So I think those are my three big concerns: them getting hot from three, dribble penetration, and just the overall quality of their defense.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. One thing I worry about is that Millsap was non-existent last year, and the supposed theory is that Tristan Thompson is the Millsap poison, right?
Yeah, I don't believe that.
No, either. I think Millsap had a bad series, and Millsap has been great.
Yeah, so good.
So I worry about him coming. See them all regular season 2. Millsap didn't really show us up from my memory. So I'm worried about him turning it on and changing the equation. Put it that way, right?
Yeah.
So that's my concern: is that they get really hot. Millsap figures out TT, and they change the equation, and this becomes another tough series. But again, there's the track record. This is the team we wanted because we wanted. I'd rather face the better team that isn't trying to injure us.
Oh, we've talked about this offline. I'm so glad not to get the Celtics back. One, I think Avery Bradley, there was a decent chance he was going to be back for this round, which makes them tougher right away. I think that Hawks series would have gone 7 if Bradley had been healthy, and even Celtics might even won.
Yeah.
And 2, I just don't trust them not to do the shit that they do, which is quote unquote get physical, which really means play dirty.
Yeah.
To me, and I wanted no part of that again. It's not. I don't need guys getting hurt.
No, we don't need
for a team that's not that good and not really going anywhere to try to do something. I don't know.
Yeah,
that was unacceptable to me last year. I don't trust the NBA or its officials to be able to keep that in check.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I'd much rather face a Hawks team that's better and plays, I don't know, real basketball, for lack of a better word.
Agreed. So for me, Korver, Millsap, where I mean, Horford obviously is always solid and good.
Teague gives us fits, man.
Teague. Well, here's the thing. Last year, what did we do with Teague? We let him shoot threes because he was terrible at it last year.
Yep.
He fixed it.
He fixed it a little. He's still not a great outside shooter. And I suspect that's still what we'll try to do with him. But you're absolutely right. There's every chance that that could bite us.
That's what worries me now. I'm going to go look up his stats right now because every time I watch him, he's been just nailing threes. But our strategy last year, let's see. He shot 40% this year from 3. So that's what worries me. He was at 34% before, 32 the year before that, 35 or for that. He was shooting a low enough percentage that it was a balanced strategy and a very strange strategy because people respect his 3-point shot. We were just like, no, go ahead, shoot it. We just don't want you to drive. You shoot 3 all day. Just stop driving. Which he did, and they stagnated. But now he's hitting 40% threes. And he shot the most attempts he ever had in his career, 235, and he hit 40% of them. That's worrisome.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you.
So that's another big thing that I think to look for is how does Lou's defense account for Jeff Teague? Because we can't do what we did against him last year, which is leave him open for threes.
And for some reason, they are reluctant to do this, but I'm super worried about the Teague-Schroeder backcourt combo, which I think would mean Delly and Shump. Maybe I don't know. So we might need Shump in this series, which is worries me greatly.
Yeah, why? What the hell happened to him? Like he was. When he first started from injury, he was just drilling threes. And then he tried to, drive towards the basket, and things started to unravel, and they all went to shit from there. But
this is a bit I've been meaning to do, and we won't do it today. Maybe if the Cavs advance, we'll do it for the next round. But like the quirk for each player that you watch him do it, and you're like, do not do that. If I could fine you for doing this, I would do it. For him, it's more than one dribble at a time.
Oh God.
Anytime he's going to the hoop, I'm like, oh my God, I know where this is going. Like, he turns the ball over like crazy in those situations. Handles terrible.
It's the thing that drives me more crazy than that he does, and I'm trying to find this, but like, I got real mad at him in the middle of this is what happened. I think I was we were watching the game, Becca and I, although Becca was actually watching Lemon, the Beyonce Lemon video.
Lemonade. Is that what you mean?
I'm just
Jesus, Pat.
Whatever. But somebody just said,
Michael. Did Michael get on the podcast with me somehow?
Oh my God, my dad wouldn't even know that this even existed. So the fact that I even got half the name right, is pretty intense. Anyway, no. It's just the whole point is like I screamed at my TV when he started dribbling one of these games, like just driving towards the basket. It's like it's the one thing that drives me nuts, like more than anything, is this he put the ball down on the floor and bad things happen every time. He can't finish. One, he's a terrible finisher.
Yep.
Despite being athletic and being able to get to the rim, I get why he's tempted to do it, because he can get to the rim and he's very athletic and he can dunk.
Nobody misses more dunks than him.
Nobody misses more dunks than him. Nobody misses more layups than him, except maybe Deion Waiters. And so, but then he'll try and pat. He's got to be 3-and-D. He's got to know that and realize it and just specialize in it. Because honestly, he has a decent jump shot. I actually don't hate it when he pulls up from a deep two, because he's very good at that, actually. It's not a great shot in basketball analytics, but he can hit it. I'd rather him get better at hitting that 3 version of that and only take that shot. That's what I want him to do. And that's why I'm not that upset that he's had a bad off year. I feel like still the 4-year, $10 million a year investment was worth it given his defense. But he's got to focus on those threes and let that shit go.
No, I think we're going to need him this series too.
Yeah, no, it's trouble. All right, we're running low on time, but anything else that worries you about the Hawks before we move on?
I think that's the bulk of it.
Well, Millsap,
they're a good team. Listen, I'll jump ahead. I think we're going to win.
Yep.
We've won 7 straight against that team. I feel pretty good about that as a matchup. But they worry me, and it wouldn't shock me to see them get one of these first 2 games in Cleveland.
I was just going to say, one of the things that worries me the most and the thing to look for is we've been off for a week. The Hawks only a couple of days. This reminds me of when we were off for a week and the Orlando Magic had a hard-fought series against the Celtics. They won, and they were just in rhythm. They were feeling good. They were hitting their shots, and they came out and they blitzed us in game 1 and put us in our heels. And I could see that happening in this Hawks series, and I'm very nervous.
Although, actually, as I remember that game, Pat, we jumped out to an enormous lead, and then they came back on us.
I did not see that.
That happened for both those.
I was in Vietnam at the time, which is one of the.
That's right.
That dude jinxed us.
It was your fault. That's right. I remember now.
During the NBA playoffs, and horrible things happen when I do that. So
I remember that. I'm glad you're sticking around this year.
Thank you. We'll get to predictions in a minute, but so to recap, Millsap figuring out TT and the Cavs. One thing worries us. Horford's always solid. The fact that Korver's hot now, and he wasn't hot against us in any of the games we played previously. Maybe that has something to do with us. We'll see. I'm a little worried about that. And Teague being a different player this year than he was last year is, I think, the biggest X factor. Teague, I think, is the one.
Shooter specifically.
Yes, shooting. The fact that he can shoot means we have to play him tighter up in the 3-point line, which opens up those driving lanes for him. I mean, he had a layup line against Kyrie in our last game against him in the regular season. We still pulled it out, but Jesus. All right. Other series that happened before we move on to our final predictions and things to watch for in the series in particular. The Heat just wrapped up their series in a blowout Game 7.
That was too bad. I was hoping the Hornets were going to take care of that for us.
I wanted to take care of it in Game 6, and they nearly did.
Yes.
That
was too bad.
That's a bummer, because that's still the team that scares me the most, big time.
Me too.
Scary team.
So I'm watching the Raptors Pacers right now. Who do you want to win that game to give the Heat the hardest time?
I think I want the Raptors, but I'm worried the Raptors look terrible.
Yeah, they've been up and down this series, man.
What's the score right now?
The Raptors are up by 6 with about 4 minutes left in the half.
Okay, great. I feel like the Raptors might. I haven't watched how much the Raptors how they played the Heat, but I feel like they have. I don't know. I feel like they have the most.
I believe they won 2 of 3 against the Heat this year.
Yeah, I think the Raptors,
or maybe 3 of 4.
I think the Raptors did match up best against them, and I would just hope they hit knock them off because I feel so much better against the Raptors than against the Heat. What's up with the Golden State Warriors' continued ridiculous bullshit luck? Like, they have their best player go down, and what immediately happened, not just one day later, but he's out for like two weeks, right?
Yep. Although they're saying maybe less than that now. He might only miss the first 2 games of this series.
He's saying game 3, yeah. So maybe, yeah. So that's the point. But still, missed 2 games of the series. That happens. Who are they playing? One, they're already playing the Houston Rockets, who are like the worst playoff team, I think, in history. Potentially. They're certainly up there, right? Arguable.
At least for their effort.
Just in terms of how bad they were in the actual games. And then they one day later, Chris Paul's out for the season, and in the exact same game, Blake Griffin gets hurt. Like, that's
pretty unbelievable.
They're a great team. They're they're easily up there on some of the greatest team ever discussions. They're also the luckiest team ever. Like, this is ridiculous.
What's also crazy is that without Curry, they lost the 1 game, but their average margin of victory, they lost 1 game where they shot like shit. Their average margin of victory was in the 20s, 20 points against the Rockets team. They blew out the Blazers today.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
More than I think the Cavs could do without LeBron James, for instance.
No, yeah, we couldn't possibly. We'd be destroyed by almost every team in the league without LeBron James. So there's that. No, as somebody else pointed out, the thing about the Golden State
Warriors
is that they can win a knuckle dragging defensive battle.
Yeah,
they can win that very easily. They're very happy playing that kind of game. They're just incredibly good. And the Spurs, of course, also destroyed the shit out of Oklahoma City.
Yeah, they looked. I watched the first half of that game. They looked nasty. Oklahoma City looked terrible, but
what did they score in the first half?
It's 43 in the first quarter. I think they had 70-some points in the first, 73 in the first half, 72.
All right,
crazy.
All right, wrapping up time, Maddox. 9 o'clock's coming. What are your 3 factors? The Cavs win if this happens. These 3 things happens. They lose if these 3 things happens.
They win if they keep hitting 10-plus 3-point shots a game. Kyrie is their leading scorer, and LeBron averages close, like his points, rebounds, assists are close to where he was in the Pistons series. Like a 20-something, 22, 9, and 7. Right,
if LeBron is facilitating.
Yeah.
And Kyrie's scoring, and we're still bombing threes.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are all offensive points, so I'll try and go defensive.
Okay.
But I'll say if we keep Teague out of the paint layup line, if you find some way, the way we kind of did with Reggie Jackson. The thing is, we kept Reggie Jackson out of that mold. That's what's exciting to me. It was encouraging to me. We kind of kept him, for the most part, out of that. But which worried me more because he had Drummond to help him finish on the pick and roll. So if we can do that again, that's a big factor. That if we win. The other point I give is that we continue to give Millsap and Horford fits. More Millsap than Horford.
Mm-hmm.
And we can contest the 3. We can make the 3s difficult. Because the thing about the Hawks in the Celtics series, that Hawks were missing a ton of wide open 3s, which we can't count on. But if we can find a way to contest the 3s better than we did against the Pistons, that'll be a key to winning. So I'll go those 3 defensive ones to go with your 3 offensive notes. That's what will make them win. And again, we lose if those things don't happen. 2 out of those 3 don't happen. I think we're screwed. We see 2 out of those 3 things that happen, and we'll pull out wins on each ledger, I think.
I think that's reasonable.
All right, your prediction for the series.
I'm going to go Cavs in 6.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Cavs in 6. I'm very nervous, as I always am, because the Cavs can always blow it. But Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Chris, what's your prediction?
The Cavs in 3.
Cavs in 3.
Ooh. Oh, that would
game.
be incredible.
That would be fantastic. Historic, even. All right, that does it for the Cleveland Sports Hour. Until next time, this is Maddie and Patty and Chrissy saying, you have to say this, Matt. You have to say this all one long roll.
How do I do it?
He's not going to do it. He doesn't want to do it, Maddie. He doesn't want to do it. What the hell?
Well, that's okay. We don't make people do things.
My child is in the room.
Friends don't do that. Friends don't make friends do embarrassing things. Sorry, Maddie, you and me. It's Maddie and Patty saying,
Ship.
We kind of blew it a little bit. It's all right. All right, Maddie, go Cavs.
Go Cavs. Talk to you soon, buddy.